So say you have a 300-pound football player. He gets on that bench with the team. They're hyping him up. He slams it off his chest, close grip, butt comes up, whatever, right? Then say you have a skinny, scrawny, 140-pound powerlifter, and his max bench is 330 pounds. Technically, they're the same strength, but here's the thing. If they saw each other in a street fight, right, a skinny kid would get the SHIT kicked out of him by the jacked football player. But then you'll say, Dre, wait. But they have the same bench press. They're the same strength, right? Why is their bench press the same amount of weight?
And I hope you let me in, yeah.
What is going on, guys, and welcome to Disrupt the Industry. I'm your host, Dre Canavati, and today we're back. Of course, we're back with our series called Starting from Scratch. I'm not sure what episode this is, but it doesn't really matter. Today, we are going to be talking about periodization and progression in hypertrophy training. Now, before we start, we need to go over some terminologies. And again, guys, the point of starting from scratch, and I'll always loop it back in there, the point of starting from scratch is going to be you go into the gym, or you're a newbie and you want to go into the gym. You have no idea what you're doing. You've never heard of the gym before. You just know that this is what you need to do to get in shape. I'm going to be breaking down exactly what you need to do step by step in order to create an amazing workout program for yourself. And of course, eventually an amazing nutrition program for yourself. So again, today we're going to be talking about progression and periodization, but we need some simple terminology, or as I like to call it, some Dre terminology. So let's go over what progression is. And progression is simply going to be the act of getting stronger, okay? Getting stronger. And periodization, the definition of periodization in hypertrophy is going to be a manipulation of training variables such as load, in some cases intensity. There can be reps, sets, tempos, volume, all these different things we're going to get into, but those are the two definitions you need to know today. So today we are going to be talking about progression and periodization, as I said. So let's start honestly with periodization, okay? Now, periodization normally is very, very, very simple, yet very, very, very complicated. There's been yield debates on which type of periodization is the best periodization, and a bunch of this stems from strength training roots. You know, there's linear periodization, there's conjugate periodization, undulating periodization, all things that we are not going to talk about today, okay? And those are all different variables, you know, within the progression and periodization. You know, linear periodization being increasing sets, decreasing reps. Again, conjugate periodization can be mixing up training variables and whatnot. Undulating periodization can be changing repetitions and sets week to week. There's a bunch of different things, but what we're going to do is we're going to focus on periodization from a hypertrophy point of view, right? So we are trying to build the most amount of muscle tissue possible. We are trying to change the way our body looks. It doesn't matter if we're going to lose fat. It doesn't matter if we're trying to gain muscle. We are trying to change the way we look. So what is the goal? Right? This is the real question. What is the goal of hypertrophy training? And the goal of hypertrophy training is to get as strong as possible while inducing our three mechanisms of hypertrophy, which we talked about in our last video, while maintaining integrity on our sets. All that means is we want to get as strong as possible and hit progressive overload, all while having good form and technique and training to muscular failure, okay? Which again is mentioned in our previous module right there, right? So I'm very, very, very excited to go over how to do that with you. And there are four forms of periodization we are going to talk about today. The four types of periodization we are going to be talking about today are going to be tempo, pauses, repetitions, and volume, right? So that's tempo, pauses, repetitions, and volume, guys. We are actually going to lump tempo and pauses together, okay? So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with how to periodize tempos and pauses. Now, for the sake of this video, let's break up our hypothetical workout program into a 20-week training program. So we're going to do weeks 1 through 6, weeks 7 through 13, and weeks 14 through 19 with a deload on week 20. Stay tuned for the deload portion of starting from scratch coming in the following weeks. But let's start with weeks 1 through 6 when it comes to periodization with tempo and pauses. So weeks 1 through 6 of your training program, what you are going to do is you are going to do every single set, every single repetition within that set with a 3-second negative or eccentric and a 2-second pause. And what does that mean? Okay. So let's take the bench press, for example. So say you're doing a bench press. You would lower the weight for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. You would pause the weight on your chest for 2 seconds. 1, 2. And you would explode up in a controlled manner. Same thing if you're doing a bicep curl. You would explode up in a controlled manner. You would lower the weight. 1, 2, 3. And you would pause in the fully lengthened or stretched position for what's going to be 2 seconds. Now, there is a difference between pausing in the fully lengthened or stretched position of the muscle and pausing in the fully contracted or shortened position of the muscle, right? So contracted and shortened, if you're doing a bicep curl, when your muscle is contracted like this, right? You're curled and you're squeezing and contracting that muscle. That's when your muscle is shortened. And then, of course, when you come down, that's the mid-range. And when your muscle is at the bottom right here, you are fully stretched or lengthened. Now, for the sake of this periodization module, all of our pauses are going to be taking place in the fully stretched or lengthened portion of the movement. So that is a 3-second negative on the way down and a 2-second pause in the fully lengthened position. So weeks 1 through 6, we are going to do a 3-second negative and a 2-second pause in the fully stretched or lengthened position. And one more example would be a chest fly. We explode up in a controlled but explosive manner, and then we're going to lower the weight. 1, 2, 3, pause when our pecs are fully stretched. 1, 2, explode up in a controlled manner, lower the weight. 1, 2, 3, right? And then pause, of course, for 2 seconds in the fully stretched or lengthened. That's going to be a 3-second negative and a 2-second pause in the fully lengthened weeks 1 through 6. Now, weeks 7 through 13, what we're going to do is we're going to drop the pause. So we are going to do a 3-second negative, but with no pause. Okay, so let's take that chest fly again, for example. So we fly up in an explode but controlled manner, and then we're going to lower that weight. 1, 2, 3, but we're not going to pause when our pecs are fully lengthened and stretched. Instead, we're going to go right into our next repetition. Here's why we do this, guys. Adding a pause in weeks 1 through 6 is going to work on our isometric strength, okay, which is holding the muscle in a contracted or stretched position, right? From there, right, you are going to get very strong in both the concentric, which is exploding up, the eccentric, which is lowering, and the isometric, which is holding. So from there, once we go to weeks 7 through 13 and we take out that isometric variable, aka the pause, you're going to be able to do more weight with a given movement because you are not pausing like you were in the previous 6 weeks. Next, okay, so we're going to do weeks, again, 7 through 13 with a 3-second negative and then no pause. And then weeks 14 through 19, what you're going to do is you are going to do a training block where you are going to be focusing on overload, okay? Progressive overload, mechanical tension, getting as strong as possible. So we are not going to do a 3-second negative. We are going to do a 1 to 2 second negative, but with no pause. Now, that doesn't mean we sacrifice control, okay? But when we lower that weight on the barbell bench press, we're going to be able to go a little faster, right? Or on the, say, dumbbell bench press, we're going to be able to increase the weight and go a little quicker, right? It's not that we're sacrificing form. It's not that we're sacrificing control. We're just dropping that negative from 3 seconds to even 4 seconds to 1 to 2 seconds. Still in a controlled manner, but what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to, again, allow us to use a heavier load in order to hit progressive overload, right? By changing our training variables, right? So that's periodization. Week 1 through 6, we did a 3-second negative, and then we did a pause in the lengthened. Week 2, we did a 3-second negative, but we completely dropped the pause, no pause. And then week 2, or I guess you could say block 1, we did, if we're talking in blocks, block 1, which is weeks 1 through 6, we did a 3-second negative and a 2-second pause. Block 2, which is weeks 7 through 13, we did a 3-second negative with no pause. And then block 3, which is going to be weeks 14 through 19, we did a 1 to 2 second negative with absolutely no pause. And we didn't really control the negative super slow. What we did was we controlled the negative, but what we focused on was we were focusing on just moving the heaviest load possible while still maintaining that control, of course. But within doing that, we are trying to induce mechanical tension, which if you didn't watch our last episode, mechanical tension is just the act of getting stronger by placing the muscle under more tension, aka hitting progressive overload, getting stronger with a heavier weight, right? So that's going to be periodization through tempos and pauses. Next, we are going to talk about periodization through volume. Okay, so this is a little more simple to describe, right? So say weeks 1 through 6. We're going to do weeks 1 through 6 again, weeks 7 through 13, and then weeks 14 through 19. So say weeks 1 through 6, you do 8 sets of chest per week, right? And then after that, week 2, which you'll do, or not week 2, block 2, which you're going to do weeks 7 through 14 is you're going to do 10 sets of chest per week. And then block 3, which is going to be weeks 14 through 19, you're going to do 12 sets of chest per week, right? So every block or every 6 weeks, we're adding 2 extra sets of chest. And what that's called is the accumulation of volume, or just the adding of volume from week to week, right? And how you would do that is it's very easy and simple. I got an itch on my nose. Very easy and simple. What you would do is say you have a top set and a down set, right? And your top set is a top set of 6 to 9 reps, right? And then your down set is going to be, say, 10 to 15 reps, right? So you're working up to the heaviest set of 6 to 9 reps you can do, right? So after those 6 weeks, right, what you're going to do is you are actually going to add a second top set, okay? So after your top set, you're going to drop the weight by 10 to 20%, right? So say you do 225 for a set of 6 to 8 or 6 to 9 on the bench press, right? And then that's your first top set. Your next top set would be, again, 225, or not 225, 205 for 6 to 8 reps. So we're dropping that weight by like 5 to 10% for another top set, right? Nothing crazy, but again, we're just adding another top set, and then we can go do our light back down higher rep set of 10 to 15 reps, right? So again, just like that. We're not going to overcomplicate this, guys. You can add an extra set anywhere. You can add it in your top set. You can add it in your down set. You can add it in your straight sets, which is just like 2 sets of 10 to 12 or 3 sets of 15 to 20. You can even add an extra set in your intensifiers, although I wouldn't recommend it, like your rest pause sets or your myo rep sets or your JM sets, I guess you call them, which is a drop set into a rest pause set. Accrediting that one to Justin Mahaley, you can increase sets on your intensifiers. However, I wouldn't particularly recommend it. I would just recommend taking that intensifier for all it's worth for that one big set. But that, guys, is how you're going to periodize volume, which is, again, adding a couple sets within each training block. Now, I want you to really keep in mind here that if you're doing things right, here's the thing. Guys, you can either be entertained by results or you can be entertained by change. In a super optimal world, your training program won't change for 8 to 10 weeks, right? But in the world of coaching, when you're coaching clients, a lot of clients want to feel entertained. So that's why I broke everything up in these 6-week blocks, weeks 1 through 6, weeks 7 through 13, and then weeks 14 through 19, and then a deload or a devolume session on week 20, right? That is why I broke them up, is because, again, clients like to have something to look forward to. If you're a coach, your clients, again, are definitely always talking about being bored or wanting change, and that's okay. That's just human nature. So I pretty much took the knowledge that I've learned over the years, and I've devised this 3-week block of 6 weeks within each training program where you can periodize, which is going to be, like I said, tempo and pauses, or you can do periodized volume, which is adding a couple sets each block, or the last variable that we're going to talk about is repetitions, right? Now, I really want you to pay attention here because this one can get a little crazy, okay? And that's fine. But I'm going to be saying a lot of words, and then I'm going to break it down in the most simple way possible. Now, let's talk about some terminology. Let's talk about top sets, right? So your top set is your heaviest set of a given exercise. So say you have a top set of 6 to 9 on an incline Smith machine bench press, right? And you're going to work up to 2 plates. You're going to most likely do 5 to 8 reps with 135 to warm up. Then you're going to jump to 185, and you're going to do something along the lines of, say, 2 to 4 reps. I would even say 2 to 3 reps. And then say you're really want an extra warm up, you could do 205 on the Smith for 1 rep. And then what you could do is you could jump into that top set of what's going to be 8 to 10 reps with 225. Now, why do we warm up like this? the name of the game is going to be priming the central nervous system to lift a heavy weight, right? And this is just a side note tangent that I have to add that's going to make the top set back off set make sense. So say you have a 300-pound football player, right? He plays Division I college football, and his max bench is 330 pounds. He gets on that bench with the team. They're hyping him up. He slams it off his chest, close grip, butt comes up, whatever, right? 300-pound football player. Then say you have a skinny, scrawny, 140-pound power lifter, and his max bench is 330 pounds with a big arch and a wider grip, whatever. Well, technically, they're the same strength because of the fact that the skinny powerlifter and the big football player bench press the same amount of weight. But here's the thing. Who's actually stronger? Like if they saw each other in a street fight, right? Who would be stronger? The skinny kid would get the SHIT kicked out of him by the jacked football player, right? It's very easy and simple. But then you'll say, Dre, wait. But they have the same bench press. They're the same strength, right? No, dude. That football player would rip that skinny kid in half. It's common sense. But that begs the question, if the football player is so much stronger than the powerlifter that he can rip them in half, why is their bench press the same amount of weight? It's because of central nervous system conditioning. And that relates back to what is going to be our warm-ups that I just talked about a couple seconds ago, is you want to prime your central nervous system to lift the heaviest amount of weight possible without fatiguing your muscles during your warm-up sets. And a lot of people come in and they fatigue their muscles during their warm-up sets by doing sets of 8, sets of 10. And by the time they get to their working set, they're gassed and they cannot push themselves with 100% intensity. Now, going back to our top set. That is our top set of 8 to 10 reps. After you do your top set, you're going to drop the weight by a significant amount. You're going to learn over time what that amount is for you. And you're going to do a back off set. And a back off set can be anything from a 10 to 12 rep set, a 10 to 15 rep set, a 12 to 15 rep set, a 15 to 20 rep set. It's going to be a higher set directly after your top set. So you're going to have 2 sets per big compound movement, right? A top set, and then you're going to rest 3 to 5 minutes, and then you're going to have your back off set with lighter weight, simply because of the fact that the repetitions are going to be higher. Now, this is something that I've went through with a couple of my clients. If you are doing the same weight for your top set as your back off set, then you are not doing this properly. You are not going heavier enough on your top set, okay? That's the easiest way to put it. You are not going heavy enough on your top set and staying within the assigned rep range. Now that tangent is over, guys, let's talk about periodization through repetitions. So weeks 1 through 6, right? You could do this. A top set of 10 to 12, okay? Then you could do your down sets at 17 to 22 reps. And then you could do your straight sets at 15 to 20 reps. And you could do your intensifiers at 15 to 20 reps. Easy. That's weeks 1 through 6. Now, you run that through, you progress on that, you get as strong as humanly possible. Now we have what's going to be weeks 7 through 13, in which case our top set would be 8 to 10 reps, so the reps drop. We're going to be able to do a heavier load. See where this is going? The back down set would be 15 to 20. The reps drop. 17 to 22 the first block to what's going to be 15 to 20 the second block. And then what you can do is on your straight sets and intensifiers, you can do 12 to 15 reps. Very easy, very simple. Then we get to weeks 14 through 19, in which case reps are going to drop again. Our top sets within the workout are going to be one top set of 6 to 9 reps. Our back down sets are going to be one set of 10 to 12 reps. And then our straight sets and our intensifiers would be 10 to 14 reps. So from block 1 to block 2, the reps decrease. From block 2 to block 3, the reps decrease. Why do we do this? It allows us to get as strong as possible, progressing on every exercise weeks 1 through 6. Boom. Okay, you can't do that forever. Then weeks 7 through 13, you're going to be able to get as strong as possible within that given rep range, right? And then you're going to do weeks 14 through 19, you're going to get as strong as possible with that lower rep range, right? So again, you're progressing and getting stronger, right, throughout every training block in order to set yourself up for success for the next training block so that you're going to be able to get even stronger, right? From training block to training block. And then you can deload and start over, or you can deload and do a training block where you prioritize periodization through what's going to be pauses and tempos. Very easy, very simple. Now, that concludes periodization in training through tempos and pauses, volume accumulation, and repetition change, right? So those are the three ways that I'm talking about today that are going to be able to help you to periodize your training when it comes to hypertrophy and changing the way you look. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is progressive overload. Now, what is progressive overload? Progressive overload is the act of getting stronger through increasing weight on the barbell, dumbbell, machine, or cable, right? Sets, right? You can increase the number of sets with a given weight. Reps, you can increase the number of repetitions with a given weight. Or quality, which is, again, goes back to RIR and reps in reserve and increasing your exercise quality. Now, let's give some real life examples here. Week 1 of your program, you come in and you bench 135 pounds for one set of 5 reps. Okay? 135 pounds for one set of 5 reps. Week 2, you come in your program and you bench 140 pounds for one set of 5 reps. You're progressively overloading your muscles by getting stronger and adding weight. That is how you add weight with progressive overload. Next, we can do, say, sets. Say you come into your program week 2 and you do 135 pounds for 3 sets of 5 reps on the barbell bench press. Week 2, you come into your program, you can do 4 sets of 5 reps on the flat barbell bench press. So we're adding an extra set from week 1 to week 2. We are increasing what's going to be the number of sets or volume from week 1 to week 2, and we are progressively overloading our body with more volume or more sets. Very easy, very simple. Repetitions, very easy and simple as well. Week 1 of your program, you do 135 pounds for one set of 5 reps. Week 2, you come into your program and you do 135 pounds of flat barbell bench press for one set of 6 reps. So we went from 5 reps to 6 reps week 1 to week 2. Now, how do we put this together? I'm not really going to touch on quality. It's not something we need to be concerned about here. I will touch on it slightly. Quality is just, when it comes to increasing quality, in my opinion, in hypertrophy training, your set execution is going to get better week by week, in my humble opinion, as long as you pay attention to it, or if you drop back and drop load and just work on your execution with a given weight as you hit PRs is going to increase. So when it comes to progressive overload through quality, a lot of that can be quantified through powerlifting training. And we're not talking about powerlifting or pure strength training. We're talking about getting stronger in the hypertrophy or muscle building realm or physique enhancement changing realm, right? So those are the 4 ways you can hit progressive overload. Now, how do we put this all together? Now, the way I like to put this all together and combine all these aspects is through the dynamic double progression method. Let me repeat that. The dynamic double progression method. And this has to do with our top set and our back off sets. It's very easy and simple. Now, again, remember, the goal is to increase reps and or load while training to muscular failure and prioritizing our repetition execution, which just means get stronger with good form of technique. Get stronger with good form of technique, okay? Very easy and simple. So I'm going to give an example using top set and back off set for 5 weeks through the dynamic double progression method. Now, for this example, let's say we are doing the incline dumbbell bench press, and our top set is 6 to 9 reps, and our back off set is 10 to 14 reps. So like we talked about, we're fresh off a deload in our last video. So we may leave 1 rep left in the tank on the first week of our program. So we're going to we're going to grab the 80-pound dumbbells. That's the example I came up with. Let's say we're going to grab the 80-pound dumbbells and do 1 top set of 6 reps with maybe 0 to 1 reps in reserve, or 1 to 0 reps in reserve, you should say. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab, of course, for your back down set, after you do your top set, you are going to grab, say, the 60s, and you're going to do 1 set of 10 reps, either to failure or a rep shy of failure. Nothing crazy, don't complicate it. It's week 1 of your program. So we had, again, the 80s for 6 reps, and then we rested 3 to 5 minutes, and then we did our back down set with the 60s for 10 reps. Now, let's say week 2 of our program, we do the 80-pound dumbbells for 7 reps on our top set. to failure, of course, because we're training to failure and we're used to the movement because we did it the last week in our program, right? And then we do the 60-pound dumbbells for 12 reps, right? We got 2 extra reps because the weight's a little lighter. It's not as much a CNS game, but more of us testing our muscular endurance. So from week 1 to week 2, we added 2 extra reps, the 60s for 12 at 0 RIR to failure. And then week 3, we can come in and we'll do what's going to be the 80-pound dumbbells for 6 reps at 0 RIR or to failure on our top set. And then we'll do, say, what's going to be the 60-pound dumbbells on our back off set for 13 or 14 reps. So we're adding like 1 to 2 reps, depending on how good you're feeling, depending on all your other nutrition variables, your sleep, your recovery variables. Say you add 1 to 2 extra reps, right? And we'll do the 80s for, say, 14, week 2. So we added 2 reps on our back down and 1 rep on our top set. And then week 4, you come in and you do the 80s for 9 reps, okay, at 0 RIR or to failure. But what happened on our back off set was that on our back off set, we did the 65-pound dumbbells for 10 reps with maybe a rep in reserve, 0 to 1 reps in reserve, or 1 rep shy of failure or to failure. And then week 5 of the program, we come in, and listen, here's the crazy thing, right? Oh my gosh, the top set was 6 to 9 reps. I just did the 80s for 6 reps week 1, and I finally progressed to 9 reps. What do? We're going to bump the weight up and we're going to start over. So you're going to pick up the 85s and you're going to do the 85s for 6 reps with maybe 1 rep in reserve, 0 to 1 reps in reserve, right? I would say 1 rep in reserve. And then what you're going to do is for your back down set, you're going to do the 65 dumbbells for, say, 11 reps because it's getting harder, because it's getting a little tougher. You took some +2 jump progressions in the previous weeks. You did 10 reps week 1, 12 reps week 2, say 14 reps week 3 to 4 or whatever. And now we're taking it a little slower. So now we have the 85-pound dumbbells on our top set on week 5, I should say, and then the 65-pound dumbbells for 11 reps. So only a 1 rep jump from week 4 to week 5. And of course, guys, we will talk about this in the future, but don't panic if you don't hit a PR every single set of every single lift. Is that what we're aiming for? Yes, it is. That is the goal. However, don't try to change anything up unless your execution is perfect, your recovery is perfect, your nutrition is perfect. There's so many different variables that we're going to go over in recovery as to what causes a plateau and what you need to do to assess that said plateau. But guys, that is how you can periodize your training from a hypertrophy standpoint, and that's how you can progress in your hypertrophy training every single set of every single workout that you do. So thank you guys so much. God bless you. I think this was an amazing video, and let's disrupt the industry.
Yeah.